Hello and thank you for joining us on today's special live telecast of plenary from the Nigerian Senate. I'm Lami Ali. Of course, you heard earlier, as we told you in the news, that the chamber is expectant of having the newly appointed chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, Professor Joash Amupitan, who has been appointed by Mr. President, and a letter transmitted to the Senate for him to be confirmed. So I have here with me the Deputy President of the Senate, Senator Barrow Jibrin. Sir, thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So we want you to tell us, what is the feeling inside the chamber concerning the screening exercise that is going to take place any moment from now?
You want me to preempt what has not been done? You want me to put the cart before the horse? He is coming to be screened. I don't know the minds of individual senators. They have the latitude to ask questions, to raise observations, to make commendations. So that is what I don't know in their minds. So we are going to wait to see what unfolds. But going by the pedigree of the nominee, I don't think he's going to have any problem. We've been given the resume of the nominee. And from what we've read, he's a fantastic person who is, I believe, will be confirmed by the Senate because I've seen and I've interacted with most of the senators. They are really quite happy for his nomination by Mr. President.
From what you've read of his profile, we want you to give us your own assessment of the man, Professor Amupitan.
That will not be palatable to our system because he is coming to be screened, and for me to begin to make comments here will not be fine for our process. So I think we need to wait. Whatever we need to do has to be on the floor. Being the presiding officer, I don't think I should make any comment now. Whatever comment I will make will be in the chambers. Whatever question I will raise will be in the chambers. So I don't want to be preemptive for the process.
So, but what is your assurance to Nigerians that the process is going to be credible?
Oh, very credible. Because we have men and women of integrity here in the Senate, people who know what they are doing, and they are set because I've seen how prepared they are to go into this confirmation. And I want to tell you, whatever the outcome would be credible and will be in line with the wishes and aspirations of the people of this country.
The Electoral Act Amendment Bill is undergoing amendments for further reforms. We want you to also tell us, as a member of the Nigerian Senate, as a member of the 10th National Assembly, what are your feelings concerning the proposed amendments in the bill?
Well, I would tell you as a presiding officer, still I don't want to preempt the process because I am a presiding officer, but I want to tell you that the underpinning of the entire process, of the feelings of majority of senators, is that we are determined to a kind of amend the law in order to strengthen our electoral process and at the end of the day create that avenue to strengthen our democracy. This is the underpinning of our thinking, of our determination in respect of the exercise.
Another aspect that Nigerians would want you to talk about is you are the chairman of the Constitution Review Committee here at the Senate, and some of the amendments in the Electoral Act are also tied to amendments in the Constitutional Review, which is also ongoing. So how fast is that process going to be? We
are not oblivious of the fact that whatever some aspects that need to be amended probably have some tie with the Constitution. We are looking at those areas and we'll do the needful. We are looking at the process of a constitutional amendment vis-a-vis the electoral amendment. So we are looking at areas in the Electoral Act that whenever you want to amend or create a change in them, of course, there are links with the Constitution. So we are looking at all those aspects and we'll do the needful.
Thank you so much, sir.
You are most welcome. Thank you for having me.
That was the Deputy President of the Senate, Senator Barrow Jibrin. So we now take you inside the chamber as the process of the screening of Professor Joash Amupitan is about to commence.
Its relevant rules to admit strangers into the chamber. I so second.
Before I put the question, I've been looking for Senator Wadada. Where is he? Okay, why I say so is because he used to be on this side. So I was looking at this side, whether he's here now. But it's true. And then, 15th October, 2020, no, I won't mention the year. 15th October was his birthday. 15th day of October. I won't mention the year. So on behalf of the Senate, I want to wish distinguished Senator Ahmed Wadada a very happy birthday, long life, prosperity, and many more years of service to our fatherland, Nigeria. So accept our congratulations on your birthday. And I don't know whether he's sitting, Senator Gbizagwa, is he sitting near to you? Where? Okay. Wherever he's sitting. So congratulations to him. Now we have two motions on the floor. Minority Leader of the Senate, you may wish to second the two motions. Number one. Okay, in that case, so we proceed. Those in support that we suspend our rules and accept strangers into the hallowed chamber of the Senate, and also resolve into committee of the whole to undertake the next assignment. Can you say aye? Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The rules are suspended and strangers will now be led by the Sergeant at Arms into the hallowed chamber of the Senate, and then we resolve into committee of the whole to undertake the next business of the day.
You're onto the network service of the Nigerian Television Authority, transmitting to you live from the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. The Senate is today expected to screen the President's appointee for the position of Chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Joash Amupitan, Senior Advocate of Nigeria. It is one of the items that has been listed on today's order paper. And so the Senate President, Senator Gasula Pabio, is presiding over the day's plenary, and in a few moments from now, the session is going to resolve into the committee of the whole, and a motion moved for the invitation of the appointee and members of his entourage into the chamber. He is going to be accompanied by the Senior Special Assistant to the President on National Assembly Matters Senate, Senator Bashir Lado. So we are awaiting that as the chamber gets set to screen the nominee for confirmation. This procedure is in accordance with Section 154, subsection 1 of the 1999 Constitution as amended. The entourage, any moments now, will get into the chamber for the business of the day, which is the screening exercise by members of the Senate, preparatory to the confirmation of the appointments of the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Joash Amupitan. The members of the entourage are now going in. They're already invited into the chamber. And the Senate is set to screen the nominee. The session is going into the committee of the whole for the screening exercise, at which the nominee is expected to present his profile to the Senate, after which the members will now ask questions in areas of interest.
Distinguished colleagues, let me, on behalf of the Senate, welcome strangers into the hallowed chamber of the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. I don't know, but we expect that we have before us Professor Joash Amupitan, PhD and Senior Advocate of Nigeria, a nominee for the office of National Chairman of Independent National Electoral Commission. We also directed that his immediate family, the wife and the children, could also be allowed into the chambers on an important day like this. And then if we have members of the Independent National Electoral Commission, particularly the national commissioners, accompanying him, they could also indicate so that we can recognize their presence. So distinguished Senator Lado, the presidential advisor on Senate matters, you can do that by getting us the names for recognition. But in the meantime, I would like to invite Professor Joash Amupitan to please take the stand. For the Okay. So we have alongside him Barrister Favor Amupitan. We have Marvelous Amupitan. And then we have, is it Beloved Amupitan? I don't know. Is that Beloved? Okay, wonderful name. Beloved Amupitan is also part of the entourage of the Prof. So, Prof, you are welcome to the Hallowed Chamber.
Thank you, Your Excellency.
Of the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. We are expected, in line with the Constitution, to ask you a few questions. But permit me to mention to members that vetting and fingerprinting had been done by the Office of the Special Advisor, the Department of State Security had also done security vetting, and the Prof has been cleared. And the Prof has also gone to the Office of the Inspector General of Police, where proper fingerprinting search has been done on him. And from the report I have, the subject does not have any criminal record with the police as of date. And so, Prof, you are welcome to the Senate. Just give us a brief resume. And not really because we are a very compassionate and people-oriented chamber, we always provide a seat nearby and a bottle of water. So the moment you feel that you want to take water or you want to sit down, just indicate. We will allow you to have a brief sitting and then you come back, because we don't want any incidents here. Our hospital is not yet ready.
Very well, sir.
So you are welcome to the Senate. Give us a brief resume of yourself.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, Senate President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the officers, Senate, very distinguished senators of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, esteemed members of the press, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Let me also acknowledge family, my wife and children. I want to start, Your Excellency, Mr. President, distinguished senators, by giving thanks to God for this rare opportunity that you have given me to appear for what we call the Parliament, Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Growing up, we were told that the Parliament is so powerful that it can turn a man to a woman, and in the reverse, a woman to a man. So I am not oblivious of the constitutional powers and authority of the Senate of Federal Republic of Nigeria. I want to thank the President of the Federal Republic, as well as the Council of State, for nominating me for this very, very important task of service to Federal Republic of Nigeria. Your Excellency, distinguished senators, my name is Joash Amupitan. I am a professor of law with specialization law of evidence, and corporate governance. I therefore stand before you today honored to be considered for the position of the chairman of Independent National Electoral Commission. I want to start with my early life. I was born on the 25th day of April 1967 in a town that is known and called Ayetorogbede in the Jumu local government area of Kogi State. So, late Chief Joseph Benson Amupitan and late Mrs. Alice Amupitan. My formative years were nurtured in the environment, a nurturing environment of my early primary school at Baptist Primary School in Ayetorogbede between 1971 and 1976. Just to say, Your Excellency, distinguished senators, that my parents were teachers. My mother grew up to be the headmistress, the famous headmistress in our place, and my father metamorphosized to become president of Upper Area Court. So, following my primary education, to also mention that as at that time, you were allowed to write common entrance. I wrote my common entrance and was admitted for my secondary education because I passed at St. Barnabas Secondary School in Kogi State. Now, higher education. My pursuit of legal knowledge took me to the Kwara State College of Technology, which is now known as Kwara State Polytechnic, for my HSC, that is School of Basic Studies. At that time, you go for your HSC and you obtain an A-level qualifications. IGMB A-levels and GCE A-levels. That was between 1982 to 1984. Upon my graduation from the secondary school, I proceeded to the University of Jos, where I obtained the LLB Honors degree in 1987, consequent upon which I emerged as the best graduating student at that time. And I am happy to report, Your Excellency, distinguished senators, that I won all the awards available at that time. Before I proceeded to the Nigerian Law School in Lagos in 1987-88, where I was called to the Nigerian bar on the 3rd day of November 1988. After obtaining my LLB, my BL degree, I went on national assignment, which was consequent upon the laws of the National Assembly. Upon graduation, you proceed on national service for the purpose of integration. I was posted to Bauchi State, where I served in Bauchi State Publishing and Printing Corporation, publishers of the Trumpeter. I served as judicial to police correspondent at that time. Before I could conclude my NYC, Excellencies, distinguished senators, I was offered automatic appointment as a lecturer in the Faculty of Law, University of Jos. Principally because I was the best graduating student, and again, had a professor who was actually a great mentor, that ensured, even before the NYC, I was recommended to be appointed. And I could remember vividly in his recommendation, he noted, Vice Chancellor, if you don't capture him now, when he's very young, by the time he goes into practice, we're going to lose him. So, consequent upon that, an appointment was waiting for me, even before I concluded my NYC. Over the years, I progressed with my academic career. I also enrolled for the Masters of Law in the same university, and also PhD, completing the programs in 1993 and 2008 respectively. The question may be, why Jos? With utmost respect, Your Excellency, Jos is considered as a university that offers a temperate weather, even in Nigeria. So we had that temperate experience, that instead of going out to study, just remain in Jos and feel you are in the UK. So I grew up, I enrolled as an assistant lecturer, but to the glory of God, because in my ascendancy, three things have always influenced my life. Number one, God. Number two, hard work. And number three, mentorship. So I became a professor in the year 2008. And I'm happy to report, Your Excellency, distinguished senators, that I was the first professor of law from Kogi State. Not just the first professor of law from Kogi State, I was also the first professor SAN in Kogi State, despite the harvest of senior advocates of Nigeria in Kogi State. I may also wish to bring to your attention that in the year 2003, the United States government also considered me and appointed me as a visiting scholar, although they call it visiting professor, to the University of Iowa in the United States, where I spent 9 months researching on cutting-edge issues related to comparative law between America and Nigeria. I served in the University of Jos, became a head of Department of Public Law, and also became the Dean of the Faculty of Law. And I happen to be one of the longest serving deans because I served for 6 years, while ordinarily you are supposed to serve for 4. But because of the compelling need, I was prevailed upon to take the university and the faculty to another level. Because during my tenure as the Dean of the Faculty of Law, for the first time, the Faculty of Law became the 3rd best, the University of Jos became the 3rd best university or faculty in Nigeria, based on NIA's ranking as at that time. In addition to that, I was able to also work on proposals that led to a grant of $150,000 from the Carnegie Corporation of the US. And that was one of the major breakthroughs we had with Carnegie Corporation, leading to the establishment of an ICT, online legal research for lawyers, in the Faculty of Law, University of Jos. And that was the very first, not only in Nigeria, but in the whole of West Africa. Your Excellency, distinguished senators, I was appointed as a senior advocate of Nigeria in the year 2014, and also appointed as Deputy Vice Chancellor Administration in October 2022. The position I held up to this moment, if Your Excellency, distinguished senators, find me worthy of being appointed to this position, I will have to relinquish that position. And just to say, sir, with your permission, I will notice that my Vice Chancellor is also here, sir, who was telling me this morning that just wondering how he's going to cope. But this is a higher responsibility. I also was appointed as the Pro-Chancellor and Chairman of Council of Joseph Aye Babalola University. The mission was to grow the university to become an Ivy institution that will be one of the best in Nigeria. That goal is being achieved. Your Excellency, professional experience, my legal career has been marked by substantial contribution to various facets of law. And I'm a member of the Nigerian Bar Association, International Bar Association, National Association of Law Teachers, and several others. I can see with respect that my CV speak to some of these points. More importantly, sir, I also want to report that I have also been part of the Parliament of Nigeria, the National Assembly. And I have participated severally in some of the very, very important institutional building policies, seminars organized by the National Assembly. Some of which, number one, I was a consultant to the 8th House of Representatives, and I was among those that tinkered and brought experts from all over the world to come and debate the very vociferous petroleum industry bill that had become a cankerworm that no successive parliament could deal with until we bifurcated and make the necessary recommendations. I was also privileged, Your Excellency, distinguished senators, to present the keynote address of the 8th House of Representatives during their 2nd year anniversary on the topic that is titled The Appraisal of Legislative Agenda of the 8th House of Representatives. And just to also say, with due respect, that there used to be an initiative of the National Assembly. They called them the initiatives. They had a dean. I had also presented a paper sometime in 2008 on politics and governance, the challenge of electoral reform. I was a member of the 8th House of Representatives Committee on Law Reform, where I worked on, in collaboration with some experts put together by the National Assembly, to review and to reform over 500 legislations that then members picked up and sponsored as individual bills that eventually led to the amendment of some of those laws. I have also assisted in the harmonization of the 2018 Electoral Act under the auspices of NILS, now NIADS, where we try to harmonize the position of Senate as well as the House of Representatives. And after the harmonization, the bill was vetoed by the former president because it was considered to be very close to the election as at that time. Your Excellency, for now, that is the brief about who am I. We have further details in my CV. I've been board members, governing council members, but I don't want to bore you with all those details. I'm very grateful for this honor, sir.
The floor is open. Deputy Senate President.
Thank you, Mr. President, and my distinguished colleagues. First of all, let me congratulate the nominee for being so nominated by Mr. President. Mr. Chairman, I spent the whole of yesterday reading through this resume. And what I discovered is that the nominee has a wonderful pedigree. wonderful pedigree, wonderful track record as contained in this document to occupy this office. And I went on to follow up with trying to substantiate, make sure that what I read, all what is contained here are true. And I asked questions, talked to some of the lecturers in the university. This is my friend. And everything was confirmed to be true. So he has the necessary track record and pedigree to my judgment. But I want to ask a question. INEC has, or everybody think of that, and it's true, that the ability of INEC to conduct credible elections, the ability, independence of INEC is sine qua non to achieving that. Independence for INEC is sine qua non to making sure that it has the ability to conduct free and fair elections. Now, going by your wonderful pedigree, showing that you are a man of integrity, someone who has the credibility to occupy this office, how will you bring this to bear in making sure that your operations, your operational decisions, your policy decisions are not influenced by external forces? Please, just give me step-by-step description on how you can achieve this. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Every question must be concise. Only the Deputy Senate President has the latitude to ask extended questions. So, Prof, you have a paper. You have to note so that you can take as many questions as possible before you answer. But because of the person or the Deputy Senate President, please proceed and answer.
I'm very grateful, Mr. Senate President, sir, for this question from the DSP, sir. INEC, under the Constitution, Section 155, is an independent body. And it is one of the commissions that is on first line charge. But one of the problems we've had with independence on its own and autonomy has to do with the practicality in terms of finances. I have not taken over to know the nitty-gritties, but I want to say from past experience, although it has been legislated that funds should be released at least a year before the election, but you find out that this does not come in time, and then the envelope system still makes the institution to be constrained financially. And then there's sometimes what we call ignorance of authority and power. The Constitution has granted you autonomy, but it's possible you are even ignorant of the autonomy. So we will look at the spirit and the letters of the Constitution, as well as the laws made by the National Assembly, to use our knowledge to ensure that INEC is independent. And we'll have an audit to see what are those factors, and we shall deal with them accordingly. I can give that assurance, Excellency.
Distinguished Minority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished colleagues, Mr. Nominee. For me, Mr. President, where you come from matters to me. Your pedigree, your antecedents also matter to me. I must confess that you have a very intimidating resume. I want to ask, you have indicated here most of the areas and activities that you have engaged in for the first time. For the first time. And I want to say that, as they say, you have satisfied the requirements in character.
Use your campaign voice. Let's ask questions before conclusion.
Okay. You have satisfied, as they say, both in character and learning, the requirements for the award of the numerous degrees that you have now. One of the very critical things or concerns of Nigerians, and indeed the international community, is the integrity of elections. Which could make or mar democracy. I want to ask, with your wealth of experience, can you share with us what accountability mechanisms that you will expand or introduce into our electoral process to allay these concerns? Mr. President, that is my question.
You were my dean. You supervised my dissertation. You are a great Joash. No, it's not disqualified. I was a student. Ordinary student.
Senator, distinguished Senator Lalong, I didn't hear you well.
Sir, I said in the course of my studies, I also went through him.
You went
when
through
I
him?
was reading master's degree. But I didn't go to University of Jos. I went to Abuja and came back, did masters. I met him briefly. I saw him briefly there as a dean. He was the dean. Huh? He was the dean. So he didn't supervise me directly. He was the dean.
Senator Lalong.
Sir.
Please do not bias the minds of members.
No.
Why I'm saying this is, if you went through him,
yes,
or you went under him, however you did, all we want to, from what you are saying, you want to attest to his character.
Yes, sir.
So just say, I attest to his character, then you sit down so that others can ask questions.
Thank you. Yes, Prof. There's a very important thing. As a professor of evidence, one of the thorny issues that came up in the last election was the issue of beavers and IRF platform, which were game changers. But we also saw operational challenges in the last elections. Given your understanding of the terrain, how do you intend to ensure these technologies function optimally going forward? That's my question, Mr. President.
Prof, can they take more questions? Or do you want to answer those two? Yeah?
I leave it to your discretion, sir.
You take more questions?
Very well, sir.
Because I noticed that almost the entire Senate is eager to ask you questions. And they all represent senatorial districts and constituencies. And the questions they are asking you are the concerns of Nigerians, of their constituents. You know, because of the fact that they were participants in the various elections. So they are very familiar. And all they want to know is whether things will change. So he's saying that the beavers and the IRF were meant to be game changers. But instead, in some instances, they presented difficulties and problems that could not be solved by the ordinary people. So if you become the national chairman of INEC, what do you hope to do? But that is very technical. I think you should get into the office, study it, study the flaws, and from there, you will know what to do. But if he has an answer, okay, based on the fact that you have been working with us from the House of Representatives, so you have an idea. So proceed to answer.
Very well, sir. Your Excellency, distinguished senators, the purpose of introducing beavers and IRF was to ensure the integrity of the election. And that is the purpose of technology all over the world. I believe what happened in 2023, which was subsumed as a glitch, before we went into the election, my own understanding and based on the review of the decisions of Supreme Court, we found that there was no clarity as to the purpose of beavers, of IRF. Not until the Supreme Court came out to say that IRF was not an electronic collation system. And that position was not properly brought out before the election. The INEC was supposed to be a safeguard for comparison, because the laws made by this distinguished Senate did not do away with manual collation. But however, IRF was supposed to provide some guarantees and checks and balances. But owing to the issues of glitches, which in simple time, I understand as improper configuration, especially during the presidential election, that eroded the confidence of so many people. So, as His Excellency the Senate President said, I have to audit the system if I'm given the opportunity to see what is actually wrong and whether we have what it takes as it is now. Because it is not just the INEC responsibility alone. You have the other agencies like NCC, NIMC, and the service providers that will have to work together to ensure that we give Nigerian a technology that everybody will be happy about. And I want to believe that the question of the minority leadership is also similar to that. There would definitely be an audit of what the system we are meeting, and especially of the logistic of the election itself, and ensure that the proper strategy is put in place. We all know the problem. So we'll find a proper strategy to be able to confront those problems headlong. I give one example. Logistic problem. We rely on third-party logistics to transport sensitive election materials. Some of the vehicles, when you see them, they are old. And they don't even go far. And when they drop the materials, they don't even remain to bring back. So when they abandon the voting and the results and collation is made or to transport, you now have to be hiring machines and so. So we need to take it serious and ensure, even if INEC has to go into some form of logistic on its own. Give me one example that I know. Thank you, sir.
So, Prof, you are saying that when they drop the materials at the various units, they hardly come back to pick the results.
In some cases.
So some of our results must have been forgotten.
The results are not forgotten, sir. But you find the presiding officer at risk that as soon as the election is over, they wait for so long and they have to even make their own arrangement to get to the collation center. In the process, they get there very late. And so sometimes you get there, with due respect, sir, my wife was returning, was it a collation officer? I had to bring a generator to help them. There was no light. So logistics waste time. And those facilities are not there. If we want to do it, let's do it well. So we'll provide the necessary transport logistic for that purpose.
Senator Yari. Yes. Yes.
Thank you very much, Mr. President of the Senate, distinguished colleagues. Prof, congratulations for this tax that's coming out of you. More especially where we're heading to the next 1.5 years. My question is on the budget utilization and maybe to explain to the Senate how transparently we will be, more especially during the upcoming major election. The budget of INEC, if you look at it, election after election, it's not going like inflation. Maybe the inflation of this year may be 18%. It will grow by next maybe with 1.0% or 0.5%. But the INEC budget is grown by like double. So how do you intend to transparently, judiciously utilize, apply the funds we're going to approve to you for the major election? Thank you very much, Mr. President.
Distinguished Senator Goje.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Mohammed Njimo Goje, representing Gombe Central, Gombe State. Mr. Nominee, I also join my colleagues in congratulating you and wish you sounding success in this very difficult job. There are these recurring accusations against the role of the security agencies during elections. Even though we know that we can't do elections without them. The security agencies are the necessary partners with the success and progress of elections. But there's this widespread belief that they collude in trying to make things difficult, particularly for some people some parties or people that they don't like, to the extent of making people to see the elections as not really transparent. They intimidate and collude in altering results or pushing away people from elections. Some people have, in some polling stations, you find that, especially during collation centers, you find that they cordon off the place, they allow those they want to allow in, they prevent those they don't want to be inside the collection centers. As the chairman of INEC, how do you now handle this issue of security agencies so as to ensure the integrity of the elections, that all parties will be satisfied with the performance of INEC? Thank you.
Senator, former Speaker, former Governor, Tamboa.
Mr. President, my respected colleagues, and the nominee, I am Amin Waziri Tamboa. I represent Sokoto South Senatorial District. Mr. Nominee, I wish you well, and I reserve the congratulations until you serve your tenure. And I hope and pray that you will be able to successfully carry out your duty. And at that point, I'll come home and congratulate you. Having gone through your resume and knowing you personally, I want to know your views on areas that you think require amendment in the Electoral Act as it is today that will improve on the outcomes of elections and the integrity of elections in Nigeria. I believe that you have worked on the Electoral Act before and you have the experience. You should be able to highlight these areas so that may guide eventually what we are going to do here in the amendment of the Electoral Act. Thank you.
Distinguished Senator Ningi.
Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Senator Abdul Ningi, and I represent Bauchi Central, Bauchi State. Let me join the Senate President in welcoming you, Professor Joash. Let me begin by saying you were born in 1967. That makes you a middle-aged person. That tells you that your golden years is still ahead of you. This position that you've been nominated for, you have now become the attention of Nigeria and the international community. And looking at your resume, in particular on page 11, Academic Professional Awards, you mentioned Richard Akinjide for Best Overall Student of 1987, late Gali Brown Peterside, prize for the Best Overall Law Student, University of Jos, prize for the Best Overall Student, Fulbright Scholarship, visiting researcher at the University of Iowa, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, and Dr. Teslim Award of Meritorious Service. The agency that you are about to take over is not a stranger to professors. Professor Henry Wosu, Professor Jega, and Professor Yakubu, Professor Iwu, and so on and so forth. What that tells you and tells Nigeria, the issue is not about academic excellence. It has to do with someone's upbringing, his forthrightness, his fairness, and his patriotism, and of course, the love of this country. As a member of Electoral Committee, courtesy of the Senate, we have traversed this country. And one of the highlights of our public interaction is the demand for transmissions of results real time. And that encapsulates a lot of logistics, but more particularly about the mindset of the leader of that agency. What do you understand by transmission of results real times? And do you think that, like most Nigerians think, that this is tenable, this is achievable? What is your position about transmission of that real times? Thank you, Mr. President.
Distinguished Senator Joash Akalo.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. President. My name is Joash Akalo. I represent Abia North of Abia State Senatorial District. Mr. President, thank you for giving me this opportunity. Mr. Nominee, thank you for coming, and my question will be very brief to you because your resume have shown. When I got this resume, I thought I was going to go back to school. I asked the person, is there a CV? He said yes. The young lady that brought it, I said, for you? He said yes. And I was surprised. But knowing you as a professor, let me go straight to the question. One persistent challenge that have been of late is the deployment of materials and personnel. Knowing the vastness of our nation and the complexity of the country, tell us, what strategy will you bring to manage the complexity of the country, especially on the areas that have bad terrains and security challenges? These areas are areas that you must not allow any Nigeria to be disenfranchised because they have security challenge, or because people will tell you, oh, that place is hilly, that place is far. What is your strategy? Is threatening to give free, fair, and just election that will be acceptable by all Nigerians. Thank you, Mr. President.
Distinguished Senator Ositangu.
Thank you, Mr. President and my colleagues. My name is Ositangu Ogun. I represent Enugu West. Prof, I congratulate you, but I'm sure you have had enough accolades. So I'll go straight to the question. No matter how beautiful our electoral policies and procedures are, the integrity of the people who carry out this election matters. Now I'm going to talk about the integrity of the people who either are INEC staff or ad hoc staff, who are going to be the people who conduct these elections. Prof, how are you going to set up an internal mechanism that is going to deter the people conducting the elections from compromising? How are you going to prevent it? And what mechanism are you going to put in place to detect when such compromises occur? And finally, how are you going to ensure that there is adequate punishment, maybe working with the National Assembly, to prosecute those who are entrusted with the responsibility to conduct the election, but who goes back to compromise the election? Thank you very much.
Very good question. I wish it came last so that you can reassure all Nigerians. But it's a very good question. Very, very good question. Because Prof can only administer, but the real nitty-gritty is with those who are vested with the responsibility of going to the nooks and crannies of the nation. What they do and bring back can either mar his administration or promote his administration. So, Prof, it's at that stage, I think you should answer together with the other questions so far asked.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, the Senate President, distinguished senators. May I respond by taking the last question first? I think that is a major concern. That is the question of Senator Osita. It's a major concern of everybody, because one of the things that we have to do is to work out an internal mechanism that we can use to trail the behavior of humans. In the first place, I'm taking this position on trust, and the people who I'm going to work with, they must also appreciate the fact that they are there on trust, and because you have made the law that should be done. So one of the ways is to set up an ethical committee so that you can have an audit of what has happened, because there have been several cases that have been reported and nothing were done. Some have been taken to court, like in Bayelsa State, there were some cases like that, and I believe in Adamawa, where some people were prosecuted and even convicted. So we are going to follow through and pursue that course. And also to say that maybe we are also going to work with the National Assembly, because there will be need for some legislative intervention in some cases. For instance, there is a need for an electoral offenses commission that will be able to investigate. INEC does not really have the capacity presently. You investigate, you detect, investigate, and then prosecute. And strengthening the internal disciplinary procedure, following due process, to ensure that those that are involved in such misconduct are brought to book. Even if we need to use forensic to do that. And we also hope to probably see, well, I have not gotten there, but we have factored it as part of the likely challenges we are going to confront. We can introduce a whistleblowing policy too that will enable people to detect and expose such practices so that it can be dealt with. If I now go to distinguished Senator Uzokalu, deployment of materials, the complexity of the country, the issue of security. I want to say that the issue of security is a major challenge, but at the same time, it can be confronted headlong. I know there's a joint committee on election security. So one of the things we have to do is to work with that committee and see how we can strengthen security in those challenge areas. Additionally, we can also invest more on logistics to ensure that every part of Nigeria we can penetrate. Even if we have to use drones or whatever, with necessary safeguards to ensure that those materials get to those places, because no voter will be left behind. And that will be one of our policies. Now, also addressing Senator Ningi's question, participation and love for Nigeria there's going to be aggressive voters education and civic education, so that INEC will perform that role under Section 2 of the Act, which is a major responsibility to ensure that people are educated. You build capacity not just of your staff, of all the election stakeholders, including the political parties, the members of political parties, the masses, as well as technocrats and elites. So we will embark on aggressive civic education and build capacity to be able to confront those challenges. On the issue of transmission of real time, I was looking at the amendment to the Electoral Act. We are going to look at what it is as it is now. Thankfully, it's not been concluded. So if I'm giving the nod, I will have the opportunity to make my own input and also to look at the decision of courts and see how that issue can be addressed. I spoke to it earlier on that nobody seemed to even understand what it was. And a lot of people felt it was another collation system. But Supreme Court said it was not. So we just need to look at it and see what is on ground. So when we get there, we'll see what is on ground, the infrastructure, and how best to approach it. Because we understand the fact that it can add credibility to our election. Distinguished Senator Tambuasa, I want to identify some areas which I believe have already been handled in the amendment. For instance, the issue of timeline, which is requiring the amendment of the Constitution. But apart from that, there are even inconsistent timeline provisions within the Act itself. Because you set some timelines which is in contradiction with another provisions on timeline. So all those issues will have to be streamlined and ensure that there are no ambiguities. And then we have election litigation. So we are going to see how an election is credible so that the loser will even come and congratulate the winner and say you won fairly and well. So if we can do that, it's just like a judge convicting a person, sentencing him to death, and say, well done, because I believe I've got justice. And the distinguished Senator Boje, on issue of security, I think I've spoken to that, sir, that we will look into it. I don't have the facts now, but I know there's a joint action committee which I co-chair. And then we'll see how best to address the issue of security as far as election materials are concerned. And finally, distinguished Senator Yari, thank you for your question, sir. I want to say that you have enough laws. This Parliament, National Assembly, have enacted laws for the purposes of ensured proper utilization of funds, and that is the Procurement Act and the Finance Act. So those laws that have been enacted will be enforced strictly in order to ensure that funding of the Commission are utilized for the purpose for which they have been given. And if the opportunities to save funds, to save costs, we shall also do that. Thank you, sir. Distinguished Your Excellency, sir, the Senate President.
Distinguished colleagues, is it the view of the Senate that he could sit down and write the questions before going back to the microphone? Those in support say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. You see the way they are looking forward to your coming. They all love you.
Thank you, sir.
So take a seat, and then as they ask questions, you write them down, and then you now come to the microphone. Because we've looked at your resume. You are a very fit and proper person, and then You don't have any medical issues, but we don't want any. We've not finished our hospital, so we don't want any mishap. So once in a while, you sit down like that, write the questions. When you are ready, you signify and come back to the microphone. So within that period, you can drink water. You are allowed. The Civil Senator, Siraki Dixon.
Thank you, Mr. President, and my dear colleagues. Henry Siraki Dixon, Bayelsa West. Mr. President, I have a short question and then a comment. And the question is, Mr. Nominee, seated here as senators of the Federal Republic, with what has been said or written or speculated about, I believe that for the sake of informing the generality of Nigerians, I must ask you to answer directly and positively whether you were in fact a part of the president's legal team as alleged or speculated about, whether in any way, shape, or form you were part of the president's defense or legal team arising from litigations in the last presidential election. That is the question. Then, on the comment, I agree completely with the premise upon which my good friend and colleague, Senator Ningi, the premise upon which he made his comments, which is that INEC, right from the first indigenous chairman, Esua, in the 50s till date, so many professors like you have been appointed. So many jurists have been appointed. And so, being a professor speaks to your scholarship. In your own case, what is, for me, giving some level of comfort is the additional fact that you are, in addition to being a professor of law, you are a senior advocate of Nigeria. And this is the first time a senior advocate, in addition to being a professor, the two combined is being nominated for this office. Why I say I agree with Ningi is because from the resume of your predecessors, there is no lack of scholarship or intellectual capacity or prowess in them at all. The issue has been, as he rightly said, integrity, patriotism, and above all, courage to do the right thing and capacity to be fair. Most of them are first-class scholars. You, at your age, have invested with this responsibility to make Nigeria proud. And look at our neighboring country, Ghana. The general elections they conduct. The last one specifically, presidential election, no litigation. Even before the final vote, the tally was counted. The sitting vice president, who was candidate of the ruling party, called President Mahama, now in office, and conceded defeat. So even within our West African sub-region, there's no doubt that we are clearly not acting as the giants of Africa when it comes to electoral integrity. So my comment will be,
question.
What will you do differently to write your name in gold to ensure that the results that will be announced will reflect the will of the people, so that everybody will congratulate one another and go and prepare for the next election. That way, Nigeria will renew its leadership and will reinforce our national identity and pride. Elections should not bring us down or make us look small or divide us. And you are aware of the onerous responsibility that history beckons on you. What would you do differently? But like I said earlier, use this opportunity to address the issues that have been speculated, rightly or wrongly, so that you can from now build a foundation of integrity and confidence on the people. Were you a part of the president's legal team or no? Thank you.
Well, I would have said, if you had spoken without asking question and a mischievous question, it would have looked as if you are no longer in opposition. But when you mentioned Ghana and other West African countries, they actually borrowed from Nigeria. You are from Bayelsa State, representing a section of Bayelsa. Recall that when the last election was done, even before the final announcement, the then president, Jonathan, who was from Bayelsa, congratulated President Buhari, even before the final election was done. Clearly, and I'm also aware that in 2007, the elections were not very good. That even the person who won came out and said, I must reform the electoral system. And that was late President Yaradua. May his soul rest in peace. He said to himself, and by the time he finished, in 2011, when I contested for second term as a governor, I can tell it was much better. The litigations were less than 30% of what we had in 2007. So I know that as the election improves, not just the participants have confidence to congratulate their opponents. So that's what they are telling him. He should go and he should conduct. Where what? Where what? At that time, PDP was not turned into shreds. No, Senator Ningi, at that time, the PDP was not turned into shreds. But there's no human being that is sane today that can even go to such a platform, because you are going straight into litigation. You are going straight into litigation. So let us not discuss with the incoming chairman of INEC as if we are giving him a clue, because you are going straight into litigations. Who is going to sign your form? Senator Sahabi Yao.
Thank you, Mr. President. I am Yao Sahabi Alhaji. I represent Zamparano Senatorial District. Mr. Nominee, you have all it takes to be the chairman of INEC. But during your presentation, there was one word you mentioned which piqued my concerns. And I felt I should seek more clarification on that very word. And that is mentorship. You made mention that you are in the service, that is National Youth Service, when a mentor made you to become a lecturer. And by your appearance, when you are saying that, I realize you very much appreciate mentorship. Professor, there is that need for you to please, for the sake of other Nigerians that are watching, to clarify more on this mentorship. Because my fear is that you may, in trying to over-appreciate mentorship, cause some disservice in your work. Another thing I want to draw the attention of is that of your specialization. You specialized in law of evidence. That is a very, very good one for somebody who is going to be the INEC chairman, because we should be conscious that we should have evidence before we go to the courts. So that will be a very good one for this country, and it will reduce the number of court cases that are likely to spring off after the election. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Sabi Yao. What you didn't add is that how is he going to advise us in the Electoral Act amendment to ensure that there is no presumption of regularity in anything that INEC does? Because it is a presumption that INEC is right that brings about injustice when INEC is wrong. You understand what I'm saying? Because that's part of what we must look at, whether to amend it or otherwise. In the court, it is presumed that once INEC announces result, then INEC is right. But when INEC announces the wrong result as a result of maybe logistic problems or compromise, I don't think that INEC is right. You understand? Yes, so the law should not be that INEC is right. I believe that INEC should be held responsible and accountable to Nigerians where INEC is wrong. So, and then you are also asking him, how are you going to do away with the influence of mentors? Because in politics it's simple. When you go wrong, your mentor becomes your tormentor.
I expect Your Excellency, the Senate President, to allow...
but you didn't hear what I said.
I do understand what you are saying.
You made a very good point. That how is he going to do away with the influence of mentors? Isn't it?
Right.
Because in politics, we know what to do. That when you go wrong, your mentor becomes your tormentor. On that note, Senator Walada, ask your question, then he can signify whether he wants to answer.
Thank you very much, Mr. President, sitting as chair. I am Senator Ahmed Wadada Aliyu Sarkin Yakin Kefi Magajin Dangin Lafia, and I represent Nasarawa West Senatorial District of Nasarawa State. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, Mr. Nominee, you have a very encouraging and proud resume, particularly to those of us that are of North Central extraction. Congratulations for making us proud. The issue of virtually everything that needs to be mentioned or questioned have been, but all other things that will be said, including mine, will only be emphasis or will be emphatic on what had been said before. All that we've been talking about here is about ultimately the electorates. And it is one of the primary responsibility or cardinal responsibilities of INEC to ensure voter education and enlightenment. And of course, before now, efforts have been put in place. How different would you do this? Secondly, and this is because you are a professor, independence, loyalty, respect, and patriotism are all required and needed by all that occupy public offices. How are you going to distinguish between this? Between loyalty, independence, respect, and patriotism. Finally, I will be sentimental because I am of North Central extraction. North Central, from the beginning of the entity called Nigeria, has always been the bridge. It has always been the peace and lubricate these attributes of the people of North Central based on the responsibility bestowed on you today. Thank you and congratulations.
By ensuring that the person who won election is announced. That is the only way. I said by ensuring that whoever won election is announced without thinking of non-central. No,
President, are you presiding? Are you presiding? Mr. President, can I continue?
My apologies, you are not forgotten. So with Senator Abdul Fattah Buhari,
Okay.
just okay. The order, just one question,
Yes.
one minute. Senator Abdul Fattah Buhari.
Thank you, Mr.
You
President.
can even use 30 seconds.
Okay.
Then after that, Senator Mongunu will use the balance of 30 seconds. So, and then we go to this side where Senator Father Honsi will commence so that we go up.
Mr. President, Buhari Abdul Fattah, or not?
But just before you ask, you need to know that you don't need to raise your hand. I've recognized the fact that every senator would like to ask questions. Even if it's repetitive, it doesn't matter to me. What matters is that you try and bring out the experiences from your constituencies so that he will be in a position to correct them.
Yeah.
This is the only time you have to see him. I've never seen an INEC chairman in my life. This is the first time. So please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Buhari Abdul Fattah. Professor, congratulations. Well, my question goes this way. One of the biggest problems we have in this country today is voters' empathy. People are always afraid to come out to vote. They believe their vote may not be counted. Take, for example, the last election, we have over 93,000 voters registered. An election were conducted, we have less than 30 million people voting. How are you going to build the confidence in people so that they will know since their vote will be counted, they will come out to vote? Secondly, your target, will it be the 18 years about the new voters who are coming? If you look at the Gen Z, I don't care attitude, but they need to be encouraged, they need to be educated so that they will know it's their civic right, just like they do in some other country. Even if you are of age and you didn't vote, they will prosecute you. So, Mr. INEC Chairman, we are appealing to you, try as much as possible to educate people, because at the end of the day, so that we won't become a laughing stock. You register, now INEC registration is going on. Probably by the time you finish, you will give us 100 and something thousand. And when we are conducting election in 2007, we now have less than 20 million people voting. It will be very unfair, but the moment you are able to build that confidence in Nigerians that look, your vote will be counted and we are going to do the needful and the rightful. And like he rightly said, now you will announce the rightful winner of any election. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Senator Mangunu.
Thank you, Mr. President. Distinguished senators. My name is Mohamed Tahir Munguno. I represent Borno North Senatorial District. Sorry, Mr. President, I came late, so I don't know whether the question that I have asked has been asked before. When I was late, because I went to represent you in the House of Representatives for the valedictory of the former Speaker of the House of Representatives. Yes, so that is why I am late. It's not in my habit to come late. Thank you, sir. So my question is, as we are undergoing the present round of amendment of the Constitution, the Constitution Review Committee, of which I'm a member, headed by the Deputy Senate President, is inundated by avalanche of memoranda for the transfer of conduct of local government elections from state independent electoral commissions to the independent national electoral commissions as a result of the ugly scenario in courts of the government in power at the state sweeping everything. So there are various schools of thought to the effect that if this conduct of elections at the local government level, which is at the grassroots level, is transferred to the Independent National Electoral Commission, there will be transparency and fairness in the conduct of the local government elections. And then at the end of the day, the outcome of the election will be a real replica of the wishes and aspirations of the people. What is your opinion as to this school of thought? Maybe the Constitution Review Committee will be properly guided. Thank you.
Thank you. I think the question you're asking is fantastic. Prof, he's saying that would you recommend that the Independent National Electoral Commission should take over the conduct of local government elections? Because what we are seeing and experiencing now in the country is almost making us, it's making all of us very sad. But that you can answer easily, because I know you already know the answer, because of being a prof. So let's, Senator Father Honsi, add his own, then you can now talk. After that, Senator Adams Oshimole, please be on standby. You will talk.
Mr. Chairman, my name is, my distinguished colleagues, my name is Senator Adenigba Father Honsi, representing the good people of Osun East. Mr. Nominee, inclusivity inclusiveness is the key of credible election when everybody is involved, including women. This is the mic. We want full participation of women in election, starting from this registration exercise. Then, persons with disabilities. People like us, there's no disabled anybody here. But how do you take care of those disabled? Deploy your machineries to take care of them, both during this voting system and during election, because they have not been captured properly. Hardly can you see all these beggars and so on during election, and there are so many. When you look at around your place, in my own town, that's Elisha, there are more than 150,000 there behind our palace. None of them has voting card. So how do you capture them? So that at least you have credible election, not able-bodied men alone. Then the last one, our people in diaspora. How do you deploy your machineries to capture them? Thank you very much.
Prof.
Distinguished senators, maybe I should just start with the distinguished senator that spoke last. On the participation of women, persons with disability, in line with the Affirmation Act, action, which is even an international concern, I believe that the time is ripe for that. The policy, regulations, and law must be put together properly for that purpose. And that was why I said there are instances when when we notice necessities like that, we will require and request for legislative intervention so that the necessary details will have to be encapsulated in the laws that is made by the National Assembly. The problem we have generally is the problem of data. And with NIMC and INEC working together, we should be able to work out something, especially for persons with disability. But whatever it is, the policy, regulation, and then the law from the National Assembly will be very, very necessary. May I now respectfully address the question raised by Senator Mangunu, the Chief Whip, the conduct of local government elections. This has been debated widely by the various state independent National Electoral Commission. And the view of most people is that that power should be transferred to INEC because of what has happened or is happening to the election into the various area councils in Abuja. Of course, there are overlap provisions that those states must use the voters register compiled by INEC. But one of the concerns is that, is it not going to add another burden on INEC? Because if you are going to conduct election into 774 local government, apart from what we already have now, until we get there to look at the logistics and the infrastructure of doing that. So it's been long debated that there's a need for that issue to be reviewed. So we will look at it, and it's not something that I may be able to provide an answer for. Let me also talk about voters' apathy. There's a need for voters' education. And that is one of the mandates of INEC. So what I believe is that we will do something that is beyond what is being done presently, by even having what I would call modules of education for voters. We can have a basic course that can be downloaded in various languages, even on the handset. And then we'll conduct various capacity training so as to educate the voters and also to preach patriotism. Because some of the problems we have, I am very enthused with what I've seen here, that the APC members are relating very well. That is the essence of it. That what should be of overriding factor for everybody is the country itself, and then the need for patriotism. So we will even think of introducing voters' education at the primary school level, so that it will be part of the upbringing of a person, so that patriotism will be preached into that person and the need for participation. I also have the question relating to independence raised by distinguished Senator Wadata. I want to say that it's a delicate issue, but the Constitution says INEC must be independent. So we will leverage on that constitutional flavor to ensure that we perform our responsibilities independently, and Nigeria will be proud of it. Hopefully, I have been told that there's an election coming forward very soon, and that will be a test case for us to see how best the election can be credible. If elections are credible, then it will be so easy to regain confidence of the people and get the voters back to come and vote. We also talk about whether I was part of the presidential election team. I have also read it, and it is very simple to answer because you cannot be part of a team, a legal team. In fact, that I led the legal team. The law reports on those cases have been out. And even when I was coming, I decided to have certified true copies of the counsel that appeared. I did not appear in the presidential election tribunal and at the Supreme Court.
So you never represented Peter Obi or PDP?
I was not part of it.
Okay, so
I was not part of it.
So that will give us comfort.
I was not.
That will give us comfort.
I was not part of it.
We thought he was representing the opposition. But now that he has cleared that he was not part of it, I think we should, that will give us comfort. So that issue is hereby deleted. Please proceed.
Okay, on the issue of mentorship raised by Senator Yao, I spoke of mentorship in relation to my teacher who ensured that I was brought in to teach. And usually, as a teacher, you mentor your students. So I was just appreciating the fact that that is the normal mentoring, bringing up, developing capacity, educating, and ensuring that you fit in within the society as you are expected to function. I'm quite aware that I'm going to an institution that I must act fairly, elections must be credible, and I must be neutral. So that is at the back of my mind. And so I don't know the concept, the way the mentorship is taken, but it was situated within what happened that, oh, I had somebody who was interested in mentoring me. When you are mentoring somebody, that does not mean you can also not disagree. So mentorship is not going to compromise myself, my principle, and my standards. I believe that I have answered most of the questions that are raised here.
Thank you. So you can take your seat while others ask more questions.
Very well, sir.
And on that issue of mentorship, he has answered it well. Because all of us are mentors, one way or the other, before we came to where we are. Distinguished Senator Shehu Buba. But let Senator Shumole finish. Then after that, you.
Thank you, Mr. President.
Senator OUK, you have spoken. You have spoken. No, the mood of the Senate is that every senator here is going to face election. So for me, as the Senate President, I don't mind what time we finish here. I don't want any question to be left unanswered in the minds of Nigerians.
Oh, very good.
You notice he has cleared all the areas that people were concerned about. You understand? And his integrity is not in doubt. So before we go into any aspect of clearance, please indulge me to allow my colleagues to bring out whatever is in their minds. Please. Please. Even if it's 30 seconds, let everybody have an opportunity to say a word. Please.
Thank you, Mr. President. Additionally, I want to thank you for reminding my dear brother that there are areas we are leading and we took to run down ourselves. When you reminded him that in this country, a president considered defeat. He didn't start from Ghana. It's important that we keep our records. I'm happy that you did that.
Thank you.
The second is that going through the CV, fine. And my friend also said because of the SAN thing, that makes it different. I'm not too sure. I think what makes the difference is that you have been involved with all the efforts, or some of the efforts, to reform the Electoral Act in a way that will be more transparent and will give Nigerians greater confidence in the electoral process. That for me, that your previous involvement as an independent, as a Nigerian, with the knowledge of law, that for me makes you outstanding compared to those who are not lawyers who have been there before. And I think even those ones, they deserve some commendation. Because between the do or die president and the one that said the blood of a Nigerian is not worth his office, we have made some progress. That said, you mentioned that you were part of those who drafted the law amended the Electoral Act, which former, now late President Muhammadu Buhari declined to accept. For the benefit of hindsight now, if you were to look at that law, does it merit the accent of the president? And if so, why? What were the new innovations that were in that act that was vetoed? The use of lecturers. Your predecessors introduced the use of lecturers as collation officers. And I think it was based on some assumption that to be an academic, as people from ivory towers, you will be free from the day-to-day biases of the ordinary man. From what we have seen, including the fact that in Edo State, 1 or 2 lecturers have been convicted for changing 100 to 1,100. And this person has a doctorate degree. So given some of the evidences that you have reviewed in court, even if you were not involved in those cases, but you review superior court decisions, do you still hold the view that you will continue with this tradition in the face of the current evidence? Last one, an experience we had in Edo State. Because the Senate President said we should speak from our own experiences, where the chairman of a political party, a party that is dying now, his wife was a director or heading ICT unit of INEC in a state, and the husband being PDP, being chairman of a party, but if the truth be told, being PDP wife, the wife of PDP chairman, the husband was always boasting that the wife will supply information that will enable them deal with the issue of accreditation. Will you be able, as you have said, as you have assured us earlier, in course of your doing audit and review of what has happened, make a policy that seeks to say that if you are a spouse of a politician, you cannot be given appointment, particularly a sensitive appointment in INEC, so that it doesn't become a family affair. That's the last point I'd like to make. Otherwise, from all that you have said, your comportment, the way you present your issues, I am clear that you are mentally allowed to deal with all the issues. The only mistake you made, which I mentioned to my people here, we were gossiping, where you seek to compare just weather with the English weather. Just weather is perfect, English weather is not. If they say you are like an English weather, it means you are not reliable. English weather is not as good as just weather.
Thank you, thank you. Senator Shehu Buba.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished colleagues. My name is Senator Shehu Buba, representing good people of Bauchi South, Mr. President. Mr. President, distinguished colleagues, the nominee, let me first of all congratulate you. And going through the resume of the nominee, I am confident the nominee is equal to the task to do the job. And I have listened carefully to the questions posed to the nominee. I earlier planned to ask 2 questions, but the questions is being asked by some of my colleagues, and I am confident that the nominee have judiciously did answer the questions. In view of that, Mr. Senate President, distinguished colleagues, we've been deliberating on the nominee for almost 2 hours. and I can see the mood of the Senate, Mr. President, I believe the nominee have done justice to almost all the questions asked him in these hallowed chambers. With the permission of Mr. President and distinguished colleagues, if the nominee could be allowed to answer these questions and then take a bow and take the leave of the Senate. Thank you.
Well, it wasn't really a motion. So because of that, Senator Victor Ome, you may wish to say a word before you depart.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'm very grateful.
Was it a motion?
Yeah,
I'm grateful.
Sorry.
Yes, it's a motion.
Motion?
Yes.
No.
Okay.
It's a motion.
SP told us to ask questions.
It's
Allow
a
us to continue. Yes.
If it's a motion,
I have your
any seconder?
I have your
any seconder?
permission. You have recognized me to speak.
No. I thought it was a suggestion.
No.
It's a motion.
We're asking questions,
It's a motion.
and they went to motion.
A motion?
It's a motion.
Yes.
No, what I'm saying.
Mr. President,
I'm obligated to take motions.
No.
So if Senator Shehu Boba move a motion,
yes,
I would like to ask: is there any seconder?
No, Mr. President.
Yes.
No, they are overruling you. You said you will give us time to speak. You cannot do that. You are the presiding officer.
So the distinguished Senator Shehu Boba, you may wish to change it from motion to suggestion.
No,
suggestion.
Sir. No, sir. This is a motion. It's not a suggestion, sir.
It's
a motion, sir, not a suggestion.
Mr. President,
This is a motion.
You cannot do that.
This is a motion.
You've already recognized me to ask
yes, sir. It's a motion.
Mr. President, you're giving me.
This is a motion. This is a motion.
Mr. President had said that everybody will speak. No matter the time we conclude.
So is there any seconder?
Yes, this is a motion.
Mr. President.
Senator.
It's a motion.
Senator Ome.
Yes, Excellency.
DSP.
Senator Ome.
Yes, thank you.
Senator Ome.
Motion.
Yeah, Senator Ome, if you,
Mr. President.
No, sorry. Let's finish with Senator Shehu Boba.
Yes, sir.
Are you moving a counter motion?
But sir, you have to rule on this motion first.
Motion. We're asking questions.
Sir, you have to rule on this motion.
You to ask questions. You gave the direction, Mr. President. You gave the direction, Mr. President. You should ask questions.
Yes.
Let's do 2 minutes.
There's a motion.
2 minutes.
Yes.
They should not spoil this screening. Mr. President, don't allow them to spoil the screening.
Yes.
Don't allow them to mess up the screening.
This is a motion.
Don't allow them to mess up the exercise. Yes. If I put a carton on it, you fit it.
Any seconder?
If you fit it, what to do?
Any seconder? Sorry, Senator Ome, we have our procedures.
Yes.
I'm guided by the procedures. If there is a motion on ground, I must ask if there is a seconder. So if there is a seconder, can you indicate? Yes. Senator Jibrin.
Mr. President, point of order.
You're not hearing me.
Point of order. Order 42.
Yes, point of order.
Order 42.
Order 42.
Yes, Mr. President. Mr. President, point of order and privilege. 42.
Come.
Just calm down. Why should they cut us off?
Yeah.
2 more questions, sir. You close.
Distinguished Senator Victor, you know I have a lot of respect for you.
Thank you.
But I have more respect for the rules of the Senate.
There's a point of order too.
The rule of the Senate is that there's a motion on ground. And if there's a motion, on ground, please, Senator Olamilekan, there is a motion on ground. You want to second the motion?
Mr. President, very distinguished colleague, yes, Mr. President, very distinguished colleague, I am seconding this motion.
With amendment?
Hello?
With amendment?
Mr. President, I don't think there is any amendment. The motion is so direct that we should allow the nominee who have done excellently well in addressing all questions that have been put forward to him, ranging from, for over 2 hours, he has been speaking to the Nigerian Senate. And I feel that that motion is in order, that we allow the nominee to take a bow and go. I so second, Mr. President. Amendment.
Distinguished colleagues.
Amendment to the motion.
Distinguished colleagues.
Why?
I want to just do an amendment. I want to, just before I put the question, because a motion has been moved and seconded, and despite my personal feelings, I must respect the rules of this institution. Voters registration exercise. As of now, all the registered voters online must move to the headquarters of each local government area to do their thumb printing and capturing before the final voters' cards are issued to them. Now, an elder statesman, the Senior Senator Farahons, sent this. I just want to read it to you, that the movements to each local government headquarters to line up are becoming very cumbersome and very expensive on these would-be voters. So he's suggesting to the incoming INEC chairman, if cleared by this hollow chamber, that will he consider a situation where he could decentralize the machines to the wards to go and capture those people and capture their thumb printings to avoid movements from place to place and the logistics of those movements, and save the people from unnecessary suffering. Incoming INEC chairman, what this is it. Don't worry. The motion was that we should allow you to answer the questions that have been asked before you go. And then from there you take a bow. That's what that is the motion. The motion did not say you should go. The motion says that we should allow you to answer the questions so far asked before you go. So I'm going to put the question. It doesn't mean the motion will pass. So just watch how democracy plays out. Please sit down. Now, those in support that he be allowed to ask to answer the few questions that are still pending, and thereafter take a bow and go. Say aye. Those against that he be allowed to answer the few questions already asked and take a bow and go. In other words, he should stand and continue to answer more questions. Say nay. See?
Questions or two? Three more questions or two?
Those in support that he be allowed to answer the questions already asked, and then take a bow and take leave of the Senate. Say aye. Those again say nay. Even a deaf man will know that the eyes have it.
Point of order.
Slight distinguished colleagues.
Point of order.
Distinguished colleagues, I'll add a proviso. The proviso will be that anybody who has not asked questions should put it in writing. Before the nominee departs from here, we'll hand them over to him. So you go and use it as a working document. The ayes have it. Answer the questions already asked, and thereafter take a bow and leave.
Your Excellency, the Senate President, distinguished members, thank you very much once again for this opportunity. I want to start with the last question, which was framed for the Senate President. That has to do with the registration and thumb printing at the local government. Beyond just decentralizing, I want to look at a situation where we can even use technology to eliminate some of those encumbrances that have been encountered in relation to the voters' registration. So if we have a supportive technology, we'll be able to deal with that. But if there are no technologies for that, we can't talk of decentralizing. That is not a problem, but we can use technology to avoid all these problems. Now, adverting to the question raised by distinguished Senator Oshimole, that whether the spouse of a party official will continue to function and hold sensitive position in INEC, or whether he should even hold any position at all. I want to say that, consistent with the principle of natural justice, where there is likelihood of bias, not just that there is bias, likelihood, it can be flagged to INEC, and INEC would take appropriate decision on that. The issue of whether we should continue to use lecturers or university dons for collation, I want to, with respect, say I may not be in a position now until I look at the various referendum and reports of the elections and whether we have options. What are the options? You weigh it, and then you will be able to come to a decision. If we have a better option, we can pursue that. I believe that those are the two issues that are outstanding. Okay, about the 2018 electoral amendment, I want to say that most of the issues that were raised there.
Prof, there is a point of order, so please stop. Leader of the Senate.
Thank you, Mr. President, sitting as chair. Very distinguished colleagues, I'm rising pursuant to Order 8(3) of our rules to seek for extension of time to enable us to sit beyond 3 p.m. to be able to conclude
on our proceedings that is ongoing. I so move, Mr. President.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, sitting as chair, I support the motion that pursuant to relevant sections of our rules that we extend the time beyond 3 o'clock to enable us conclude the activities of the day. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in support that time be extended beyond 3 p.m. to enable us conclude, say aye. Those against, say nay. The ayes have it. Prof, continue.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency, the Senate President, distinguished senators. The last point I was going to make is in relation to the amendment of 2018. And I dare say that most of the recommendations in the 2018 have been adopted, some in the 2022 Electoral Act. And some of our recommendations had even been improved upon by the 2022 Act. But the amendment of the Electoral Act will continue to be a continuous process, working with the Senate and the National Assembly. Thank you very much, sir, Your Excellency.
Thank you. Leader of the Senate, approach the chair.
You're watching live plenary proceedings from the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as it screens the nominee for the position of the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, who was appointed last week by President Bola Tinubu and submitted to the Senate for screening and confirmation. The exercise is ongoing now. The nominee has answered questions from the lawmakers, and possibly a few moments from now he may be allowed to exit the chamber as the motion has already been taken and adopted.
Can you make use of the Electoral Act that empowers INEC to review results that have no foundation before declaration of the final result? This is coming from Senator Ome. I'll give it to you so that it will be part of your working document as you go. We don't expect any answer because we have closed that session. The other question is from distinguished Senator Plan. He's saying, will you consider adopting an insurance policy for ad hoc staff? Probably they largely use NYSC members because of insecurity and past experiences where most of them lost their lives in the course of conducting election in some parts of the country. Will you consider ensuring that you put in place an insurance policy for those ad hoc staff so that their death will not be in vain and their families will probably get something from INEC, as it may never compensate for loss of life, but at least as a recognition of their sacrifice? This is coming from the Senior Senator Plan. No, not now. It's for a part of his working document. From the Senior Senator Asuku Ekpeyo, most critical aspects in the electoral process is a collation of results. And the most sensitive collation is a collation of results across 176,974 polling units across 8,809 wards, which happens concurrently at the end of votings. What initiatives do you propose to deploy to safeguard the integrity of this collation process, which is very sensitive? Senator Asuko Ekpeyon. So, just before you depart, we realized there was a slight omission, that there was no word from your state or your senatorial district. So I'd like to give 1 minute for the senatorial district that you come from to thank the Senate for spending almost 3 hours with their son. And who is the senator from Kogi representing you? Do you know him? Who is that?
Distinguished Senator Sunday Karimi.
So Sunday Karimi
is already up.
Please thank the Senate for spending all this time.
Thank you, Mr. President. My colleagues, my name is Karimi Sunday Steve. I represent the people of Kogi West. Mr. President, it's been a long day. What we are doing today is epoch history making. This is the first time, Mr. President, that someone from Kogi State and North Central Nigeria, somebody from North Central Nigeria, will be asked to occupy this exalted position. This is a way of fostering national unity.
Is this the first time?
This is the first time.
Since when?
Since the history of Nigeria. Creation of Nigeria.
Since independence?
Yes. This is a way of fostering national inclusion, national unity. We want to thank Mr. President for allowing this. I'm talking of the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And we want to thank this institution for accepting it. Mr. President, we want to assure you that this man before you will not disappoint this nation. He's a man of trust. He's a man of integrity. And in most times, people close to you are the people that will misadvise you and put you under pressure. I want to assure the nation that people will not put him under pressure.
So the people of Kogi will not put him under pressure?
Will not put him under pressure. I want to vow that I will leave this man to walk with his integrity intact. And I want to assure you that in accepting the nomination of this man, our electoral process is moving forward. And we will not have a regret for it. I want to thank you all. God bless you all. God bless the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Thank you.
That is the shortest speech from Senator Karimi, but slightly very emotional. I also want to, Prof, it's our constitutional duty to do what we are doing. We did not intend to put you under pressure. We have no intention. Some of us you may never see again, because when you get into your office, you will not see those who win elections. You only see those who want to rig elections. Those are the ones that will come and try to put you under pressure. I can't remember when I visited INEC office in my life. So if you are cleared by the Senate, congratulations in advance. You will hear from us. Thank you for being here, and I thank your family members who accompanied you. I also want to thank the Vice Chancellor of the Epoch University of Jos for finding time to be here. A good product. And congratulations. And I thank the President of Nigeria for also finding you worthy to be nominated for this position. And if the Senate does approve you and then confirm you after considering the needful from your beautiful resume to the questions and everything that you have brought here, in fact, from the lectures that you have given to us, I also want to thank the Senate in advance. You may now step forward, take a bow, and leave.
The screening of Professor Joash Ojo Amupitan has just been concluded at the Senate as the appointee of President Bola Tinubu for the position of the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission of Nigeria, INEC. For the last 2 hours, he fielded questions from the lawmakers on various issues affecting Nigeria's electoral system and the reforms he intends to put in place for improved transparency, accountability, and integrity of the electoral system. He read out his profile. He's 58 from Ayetoro, Bede Ijumu local government area in Kogi State. He's a professor of law at the University of Jos, and that he specializes in company law, that is law of evidence, corporate governance, and privatization law. He's a senior advocate of Nigeria. He attended his primary and secondary education from Kogi to Kwara State, where he proceeded to the University of Jos in 1984. He was called to the bar in 1988. He also earned his PhD in 2007. Before his appointment as the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, he was the Deputy Vice Chancellor Administration at the University of Jos. He's also a Pro-Chancellor and Chairman of the Governing Council of Joseph Ayo Babalola University in Osun State. Some of the academic positions he held include Chairman of the Committee of Deans and Directors from 2012 to 2014. He was also Dean Faculty of Law, University of Jos from 2008 to 2014, and he headed Public Law from 2006 to 2008. Professor Amupitan SAN is the author of many books on law, such as Corporate Governance, Models and Principles, which he published in 2008. There is also documentary Evidence in Nigeria, also published in 2008. Another work from the professor is a book on evidence law, theory and practice in Nigeria, which was published in 2013, as well as Principle of Company Law, also published in 2013. He is married with children. He is emerging as the 6th chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission after the completion of tenure of Mahmoud Yakubu, during which Nigeria witnessed transformative elections. As explained earlier, Amupitan's scholarship includes more than 50 academic works. He wrote several journals, articles, book chapters, monographs, and case review. So we await the Senate to revert to plenary, at which they would hopefully decide on the confirmation of Professor Joash Amupitan. Now, going down a memory lane, looking at the Independent National Electoral Commission, which was set up in the run-up to the 1999 election, after the return of Nigeria to democratic rule. From 1999 till date, Nigeria had 5 chairmen of the Independent National Electoral Commission. First was Justice Ephraim Akpata. He was the pioneer chairman of the INEC after its establishment in 1998 and oversaw the transition from military to civilian rule. Next came Abel Gubadia, who headed the empire from the year 2000 to 2005. Gubadia led INEC during a critical period of Nigeria's democratic consolidation and conducted the 2003 elections. And then from 2005 to 2010, Professor Maurice Iwu became the chairman of the INEC. Professor Tahiri Jega was next, being the 4th chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission since the return of democracy in 1999. He was known to have introduced significant reforms, including what we now know as the permanent voter card system and card readers. Then the immediate past chairman of the commission, Professor Mahmoud Yakubu, who served from 2015 to 2025 after a tenure of 10 years. Yakubu was instrumental in conducting several elections and introducing electoral technologies like the bimodal voter accreditation system, popularly called BIVAS, and the INEC result viewing portal, that's IREV. It's also worthy of note to remind our viewers that at some point at the Independent National Electoral Commission, Amina Zakari served as acting chairman for a brief period in 2015. May Agbamu Chimbu also served as acting chairperson after Mahmoud's tenure ended on October 7, 2025, before the president appointed Professor Joash Amupitan as the new chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission of Nigeria. The Senate President is consulting with the leader of the Senate, Senator Peyami Bamidele, and any moment the session will be reverted to plenary, because at this point it is at the committee of the whole at which the screening of the nominee was conducted. So a motion is going to be taken to revert to plenary in order to decide on the confirmation hearing of the appointed chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission of Nigeria, INEC. Now, many see the appointment of Professor Amupitan as chairman of INEC as the umpire entering a new phase. This is because the commission is central to sustaining democracy, from supervising the voter register to ensuring credible polls. His background shows that he came from a family deeply rooted in education and Christian service, as his late mother, Alice Ajuba Amupitan, was an educator and church leader in Kogi State. The academic journey of the senior advocate of Nigeria, as stated while he was reading out his profile, was rooted in persistence and a strong commitment to legal scholarship. Now, over the decades, his teachings and research focused on public law, corporate governance, privatization law, and the law of evidence. So we are awaiting the Senate to revert to plenary as it conducted the screening, which is in line with the provisions of sections 154 subsection 1 of the 1999 Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as amended. The letter requesting his confirmation from the President was transmitted on Tuesday this week, and the Senate then agreed that it was going to be attended to expeditiously, and so 48 hours after the letter was read, we had him here inside the red chamber for the screening exercise that has just been concluded. While the screening was on, which lasted for about 3 hours, the Senate decided on a motion to allow the nominee to take his leave, having exhausted most of the questions from lawmakers, as the chamber decided that further questions be submitted to him to study in the coming days, as the Senate prepares to confirm the nominee for the position so appointed.
Adams Oshomole, take your seat.
The leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, sitting as chair, very distinguished colleagues, I rise to move that the suspended provisions regarding floor privileges under Order 12 be now restored for us to continue with the proceedings of the Senate. Thank you.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, I second the motion heavily moved by the Senate Leader. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, the motion has been moved and seconded that the sanctity of the hallowed chambers by expelling all strangers be restored. Those in support say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The sanctity of the hallowed chambers is hereby restored. Distinguished colleagues, after the conclusion of the screening exercise, I dare to ask, will the Senate approve the confirmation of the nomination of Professor Joash Ojo Amupitan, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, for appointment as the Chairman, Independent National Electoral Commission? Those in favor say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The nomination of Professor Joash Amupitan, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, for appointment as Chairman, Independent National Electoral Commission is hereby approved. Leader of the Senate.
Mr. President, I stand to move that we revert back to plenary to report progress. I so move.
Minority Leader.
Mr. President, sitting as chair, I second the motion that the Senate reverse to plenary to enable the chair to report progress. I so second.
Distinguished colleagues, those in support that the chair revert to plenary for us to report progress, say aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. To report near progress. Distinguished colleagues, the Senate and the Committee of the Whole considered the request of Mr. President and Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria for the consideration and screening of Professor Joash Ojo Amupitan San for appointment as Chairman, Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. The nominee answered questions from distinguished senators and also took away some of the questions as working documents in respect of electoral matters and other topical issues. Thereafter, the Senate approved the nomination of Professor Joash Ojo Amupitan, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, for appointment as Chairman, Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC. Is this a true reflection of what transpired in the Committee of the Whole? Distinguished colleagues, will the Senate confirm the nomination of Professor Joash Ojo Amupitan, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, for appointment as the Chairman, Independent National Electoral Commission? Those in favor say aye. Aye. Those against say nay. The ayes have it. The nomination of Professor Joash Ojo Amupitan, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, is hereby confirmed as the Chairman, Independent National Electoral Commission. So let me thank distinguished senators for the painstaking manner in which they handled this as Committee of the Whole, because of the need for speed, and to say that this was very orderly and well done, and I believe strongly that your questions and your comportment met the aspirations of all Nigerians. I also want to congratulate the President, Commander-in-Chief of the Armed Forces of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, for presenting a nominee that had no single dissecting voice and has been unanimously approved and unanimously confirmed by all and sundry in the Federal Republic of Nigeria through their representatives. I wish Professor Amupitan well and pray that his services will improve the electoral process, lead to more transparency, and ensure that every vote counts, and that the winners are truly the ones that are announced. I also want to congratulate the people of the workers and staff of INEC for having a man that is most likely going to bring about changes in order to improve our electoral process. All hands must be on deck for Nigeria to have a better image in all electoral processes. We all have our roles to play. And many of us have been victims of electoral malpractices in the past. That is why we were able to ask the right questions. And we hope that he has a lot of takeaways to assist him in the work that he will do. And one of the things that bother us, and he tends to also agree with us, is the issue of the local government elections. This winner carries it all. If you are in a state that is run by a governor of a certain political party, he can even abandon his political party and get nominees from another political party, and when the results are announced, it becomes carry-go. That cannot improve the electoral process. So I want to charge the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria and the National Assembly as a whole to find a solution so we can have a more transparent local government elections. And in any case, now that we have all agreed that there must be independence, financial independence for local governments, it's also important that we have electoral independence for the local government administrators, so that those who truly win elections, the grassroots will be happy that those are the people administering their funds, which are meant for them. I think that is the challenge to the 10th National Assembly of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, working in tandem with the new INEC national chairman. I know that with the grace of Almighty God, we shall succeed in cleaning that aspect so that Nigeria will have a better image. So congratulations to all. I wish them well. Now, before I hand over to the leader of the Senate, let me give you just a very good information, which I believe the distinguished senators have been waiting for. This is a letter to distinguished Senator Godswill Oborokwabi.
Watching the Senate plenary live from the Nigerian Senate, and we just witnessed the screening and confirmation of the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission of Nigeria, Professor Joash Amupitan, SAN, who was in chamber earlier and took questions from the legislators on various issues with regards to Nigeria's electoral system. And we have just witnessed the approval of the request of Mr. President for the confirmation. And now we have Professor Amupitan as the 6th chairman of the commission since the return of democracy in 1999. And this is where we come to the end of this special live plenary from the Senate. We thank you for your time. On behalf of the entire transmission crew, I'm Lami Ali, thanking you and urging you to remain with the NTA as we continue transmission of other programs.